Hey y'all, hey.
Hey y'all.
I'm Crystal.
And I'm Elisa.
And we are
That's Right,
your favorite sister podcast. Shout out to the old school set.
Old school.
Old school. It was
Bring
literally
it back.
last year. But y'all know we don't switch up the set.
You already know if you've been following Crystal and Elisa.
If you've been, look, and it's obvious, some of y'all have not been following us, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But yo, this is, like, I'm uncomfortable.
That's fine, I feel you.
We on one couch.
We real cuddle up tonight.
Look.
We chilling and we doing a what? Unplugged.
No, for real. So this is not, look, this is me and my tissue in hand. We are in trash cans. Literally, this is me and my sister hanging out like, yo, let's just record something. Our production crew, not here. We set these lights up ourselves. So if we look crazy, that's why. Also, as well, we don't have any microphones.
No.
We just out here. Like, literally out here.
Winging it.
But Lisa was taking a little break. I got conversations with Crystal coming. Conversations with Crystal. Check me out come April.
Make sure you follow my sister. Don't play with it.
Don't play with it. But so in the meantime, in between time, people have been DMing us asking us for content, and I think that's wild because we've also been getting a whole bunch of hate on our most recent content because people are haters and they are hurt, right? Anyway, so. But we decided to
do an unplug. We're gonna be
look, it's
a lot of exchanging going on.
Y'all ain't gonna have no edits. Y'all might hear us being really wild with no cuts.
Straight unplugged.
It's unplugged.
Unplugged. You just get what you get.
You get what you get, and don't pitch a fit. Right? Do not pitch a fit.
Because y'all been pitching a fit.
Look, this is it. Y'all wanted content? This content. No, for real. So this is Unplugged, and this is literally just a conversation with me and my sister, and we're inviting you guys to be a part of it. Not necessarily be a part of it because we don't want y'all to butt in, but we invite y'all to hear it and just hear, just
conversations with Crystal and Elisa.
Conversation with Crystal and Elisa. That's right.
That's right.
Your favorite sister podcast.
Your favorite sister podcast.
Okay, for real. Okay, so what made us decide to do this, Lisa? It's weird. I feel like I just came out the shot.
You did.
But I want to talk to you and not to the camera.
You're right.
But also, I might as well. We close enough to kiss. So I don't know. But I mean, I guess we could. Let's see what it looks like.
Change the angle a little bit.
Yeah, maybe change the angle a little bit.
Change the angle a little bit.
Yes. Okay, maybe. Okay. So this started, and we're gonna do this for 30 minutes because it's unplugged. We don't got an hour and a half to be with y'all, but we're gonna probably record several of them.
Yeah, we unplugging.
Even though it's midnight, I need y'all to know
it is midnight.
This is midnight. We out here. It's fine.
Kicking back, chilling.
Look, so most recent clip. Most recent clip that's got a lot of, I'm gonna talk to y'all for a little bit. That's got a lot of lot of comments, lot of love, Ani. It's a lot of love, but there's also like a lot of like conversation about it, and I just want to kind of chime in. I wasn't gonna say nothing. My little god baby was like, "Don't you want to do a response video?" I said, absolutely not,
Okay.
Absolutely not. But then we were talking about it. Like I said, we got some requests for content, and I was like, "Yo, we could just talk about this." So that clip where I am saying that I'm gonna have my kids back, I'm gonna stand by my kids, and I'm not gonna talk. If a teacher comes up to me and tries to talk about my kid, I'm gonna listen to the teacher, but I'm gonna stand with my son, right? And I say that, and I go on to say that Chris had some trouble with teachers. Now, if y'all have been following That's Right for any length of time, you know Chris's story with these teachers because it's in motherhood. If you go listen to the Charge of Motherhood, like episode 3 of season 1. I explore this, but if you want to look at a little 90-second clip and decide that I'm a horrible mother, my kids don't have a father, I am the reason that children are bad, I'm raising narcissists, what else?
You're not married.
Yes. Oh, look, they ain't got no daddy. This is what is wrong with America. Let me tell y'all something. If ain't nobody what's right with America, Crystal, right is, baby. That said, and this I gave an explanation. Even with, I taught them to think. First, I want to ask y'all why y'all hate y'all kids. Like, hands down. Like, I really feel like with that clip, it made me see that people aspire to be their kids' first bully. Like, you just want to bully your kids. And then it's just like, well, you got to teach them. That's real weird.
That's
right?
True.
Because here's the thing. We live this life where we're always learning. And so put yourself in the shoes of a learner, right? Like, you are a learner in this life. you're at work, your boss is trying to teach you something, you don't get it, and you stumble or whatever. Embarrassment should not be how you teach someone to do something. And so, but you don't think, and somebody actually made a comment like, what if your boss called you out in front of everybody to teach you a lesson? Like, how would you feel? And that's real.
And it's real, but still, what makes it right?
It's not right. That's the whole point. Like they're saying, like, that's not right. But people don't see their kids as human. And I find that a lot too. That people really just, they teach them as children and not really human with real human emotion. And so it's like, and I got a lot of, well, if he embarrassed you embarrass him. That's weird. Because I'm dealing with a whole 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Right?
So
like, I'm grown.
Snoop down to their level.
This is what I'm saying. And here's the thing, because they're learning, right? Like, you're a 12-year-old and you are learning. And let me just be very clear about my children. Y'all, I raise dynamic. My children are excellent.
If you watch the podcast, you would know.
So I didn't have, and I'm gonna say this again, I said this about the Church of Motherhood. My kids wasn't cussing no teachers out. So y'all are like, oh my God, what? This is why teachers are running from the profession. Y'all sound mad weird, right? Like, my kids weren't cussing teachers out. Like, what? And I use Chris because I never in my life got a call about MJ or Kennedy ever, because that's just not who they were. But I use Chris because I would get calls about him. Chris was a drummer. So like 3rd grade, he lost his birthday party. He was drumming in this lady's class. I'll never forget this. So because that's what I would do. I don't believe in corporal punishment, but I will take things away. And so he was drumming and on with his pencils, and he was all excited about this birthday party, but he had been, because he's a talker too, like his mama a talker, he get it honest. But I still want you to respect what's going on in the classroom. So he wasn't doing, like, he wasn't fighting. He's never been in a fight before. He wasn't fighting, never been suspended, never been sent to the principal's office. I didn't have that child. I had the child who was going to talk during the lesson, and when you tell him to stop, he's going to be like, oh, my bad, miss, my bad, miss. That's the child I've raised. And so I remember he was drumming, and I go, because I was the room mom. I was always at the school. I was doing something, and the teacher was like, Christopher was drumming in the class, and I was just like, and I did. I said, well, he's a drummer. She said he was tapping his pencils. I said, he's a drummer, and so I think he doesn't think he's doing it. And I just told her, I said, so if you just tell him, he'll stop. She was like, well, I did, and I actually took his pencils away because I know that about him. I took his pencils away, and then he found more pencils and kept doing it. So to me, when she said that, I said, oh, that's disrespect. Right? Like, that's disrespect. You found more pencils? So I said, okay, thank you. And when I got home, I said, no birthday party. His birthday party was like coming up that weekend. He was devastated, but I was like, yo, it's different if you're doing something subconsciously and and somebody tells you to stop. You're like, oh, I didn't even notice I was doing it. But you went out of your way to find more pencils to tap? No birthday party. You think you tapped another pencil in that woman's class? No. And the issue is, people are like, oh, well, the teacher needs to know you stand by her. Why? The best proof that I stand by the teacher is change behavior. Is that my son comes back up to that school and he ain't tapping on no desk because his behavior has changed. I didn't have to embarrass him in school. I didn't have to do that. And why does the teacher need me? This was a big thing. Like, I've been thinking about this for days. Why you need me to stand by you? Like, I'm not your support system. I'm my son's support system. So I don't have to stand by you, stand with you in any way, shape, or form. Right? Like, you can tell me something. I'm not cussing you out. That's not who I am. So for people who thought maybe that's what was going on, no, I'm just going to listen to them be like, oh, okay, well, like the woman, Chris was tapping on his desk. Okay, cool. I didn't tell her what I was going to do. I was like, okay, thank you. And then Chris lost his birthday party because don't be in that woman class acting a fool, right?
Absolutely.
And so, and that's the energy that I gave my son, but he knew I wasn't doing anything to him. And people are like, correction is not embarrassment. No, it's not. But also, kids are fragile. And people want kids to not be fragile. And they want kids to be like, oh, you're raising a bunch of whatever. In your generation, kids was fragile. They just couldn't show it. That's the difference. And in every, like, because I'm old. And I'm old school. And I'm from the ghetto, right? Like, for real. And so, my feelings got hurt. But I did not show it. But it wasn't that I wasn't crying and hurt and having trust issues because of things that happened to me. And so that's like, so now we are raising a generation of kids who are like, okay, I want to explore my feelings, and y'all mad because they exploring their feelings. Like, what are y'all on? So there were so many comments that were really mad, weird to me. Like, what does it benefit the teacher for me to get on my son in front of her? Why? And if you feel like that, like if you feel like you need the parent to reprimand their child in front of you, ask yourself why you need that. Because again, the best way to show that I do not want my child to be disrespectful to anyone, adult, teacher, whatever, is to correct the behavior. The best way you know that I have your back in this situation is that my son comes back to school and he's not showing his behind. And it's not even for me. I'm not trying to have your back for real, because I promise you I don't care. I love you with the love of God. I don't care about having your back. My goal is to make sure that my son is a good person. And so it is not about you. It is irrespective of who you are and your position. It is about, you need to have respect for the world at large. And so if you're in a setting and that setting demands you to have, behave a certain way, you need to be able to behave in that setting. And so that's what I was about. And I'm gonna let you talk, Lise. But I remember another time my son was in 2nd grade. I'll never forget. I ain't gonna say her name. But I tell this story on the charge of motherhood if y'all want to go back. But he was in the 2nd grade, and I love teachers. My best friend's a teacher.
Absolutely.
Like, so that's not. I love y'all, and I think y'all have a super hard job. I think you're underpaid. So that's not what it is. But some of the comments did have me kind of like, why do I have to have your back? Like, why? This is why we need to be a united front before I'm united with my son. You think that I need, for the year that he's in class, for the 10 months he's in class, I need to align with you more than I need to align with my child? That he's gonna be my child until I pass away? Never. I will not. Right? But I can still correct him. Like, I can still, and I have done that, and I've raised amazing kids. Like I said, my son lost his birthday party because I don't play the radio. But I remember this woman telling my son, he was 7 years old, it was a whole homework thing where she was making the kids drop their homework off at the beginning of the class, so she wouldn't call for it. You're supposed to, 7 years old, when you walk through her door, you're supposed to remember to put your homework in the basket without being asked. I think that's a lot to ask of a 7-year-old, but I think it's a lot to ask of my student. And what I don't like is that she was teaching she wasn't teaching the individual personalities and understanding, like, okay, Chris is gonna need a little reminder, right? And so when she told me, because Chris was doing his homework at home because we did it together, and I look on a little portal and I'm like, why is Chris missing assignments? And she's like, well, he's not turning them in. I'm like, he's doing them. And so then she's like, well, she tells me the policy, and I asked her, I was like, so you expect 7-year-olds to remember without being reminded to turn their homework in when they walk in the door? And she was like, yeah, everybody else does it. So I said, okay. So what I started doing was walking my son to class. It was before the bell rang, I wouldn't go in the class. I would just stand to make sure he put his homework in that bucket. This woman goes and tells the principal that I am interrupting her class. I was good at the school. Again, I'm the room mom. I'm everything at the school. Principal calls me to the office as an adult and was like, hey, you can't go into the class. I was like, she was like, when the school starts, you can't really be here. And I'm like, I'm not. It's before school. It's before the kids are even there. I'm getting my son here early to watch him put his stuff in the bucket. And the woman was like, I'm trying to teach him how to be responsible. What? I was like, what? That's not your job. Like, I'm not a parent who sends my children to school to be babysat or for you to teach them anything other than their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Now, if they learn that as a result of being in your classroom, that's fine, but don't make it your purpose, and don't make it your purpose to the detriment of my child, because I do the parenting here. So it is my responsibility to make sure that my son is smart, he's a good citizen, he loves God, and he loves people. You don't have nothing to do with that. So if you have an issue with him, bring that issue to me. And that's another thing. I think I'm gonna let Lisa talk about. I have so many things to say about this, and I think it's because it was my clip, and it was people were, and it wasn't even about the attack. It was just about, like, what are y'all on? Like, that you feel like, one, you want to be your child's first bully. I did this to my son. Look how I turned out crazy. You in somebody's Instagram comments talking crazy. Look at how you turned out. Never in my life have I gotten in anybody's comments and said anything negative. Like, I scroll and I move on with my life, but I've never felt the need to tell a stranger anything. So you telling me that your mama went off on you and, hey, look at how I turned out, I'm looking. It's wild, right? Like, you turned out to where this is how you treat strangers. It didn't work, right? Like, it just didn't. And so it was just a lot of, and this is why kids are bad. I wouldn't have been, even if Chris was up there cussing teachers out, I don't know that I can't don't know that I would have embarrassed him in front of them, because I'm gonna check me first. I'm gonna try to figure out why my son thinks it's okay to cuss the teacher out with the way that I've raised him in the fear of the Lord. Like, why are you up at school acting crazy? Do I know that kids act differently with other people than they?
Absolutely.
I'm not crazy, but there is you also know who your mama is.
Yeah,
and that's what I used to tell my kids.
Exactly.
You want to go out here and show out, act like you know who your mama is, because I'm not the one or the two.
Yeah.
And I raised them knowing that. And I raised them knowing that, because I'm at your school, your teachers are going to tell me, right? And so, but I had the pencil tapper. I had someone who was going to talk in the back of the class and not go off. And he may have been using profanity, whatever, but I didn't get calls like that. Oh, and to top it off, when he got like in middle school, what was crazy, I would check, because I'm gonna check that portal.
Absolutely.
So I would check the portal, and he would like not have an assignment done. So I'm calling the teacher like, hey, what's going on with this? Or he have a low grade. That's what it'd be like. Oh, what's going on? Is he not understanding the material, or is he not turning in his work? Those are the questions I would ask at first. And so 9 times out of 10, it would be, well, Chris is talking in class, he's not getting his work done. What's my next question? When I have not gotten a call from the teacher, I've not gotten a note home, I've not gotten an email.
That's my point right there.
Why haven't you called me? Because I'm available.
That's the check part that I'm
available. And then they're like, oh, well, I was trying to give him a chance to fix it himself, because here's the thing. So you gonna let my son fail talking about you're gonna give him a chance to fix it himself. Again, 13. You got a 13-year-old who needs some rearing. But then I'm like, okay, well, what is it? And I do ask questions about your classroom management. What is happening? Is Chris sitting in a place where he should not sit? What have you evaluated the situation to try to make the learning environment better for your students? Because if Chris is talking, he can serve with somebody else. So and then you're mad at me, and I'm just kind of like, why are you mad at me? Because you didn't tell me my child was a problem in the classroom, that he was talking in the classroom, and you didn't find it that important until I asked you why he was not doing well. And so, and those were some issues that, I kind of had, but I didn't have, that was the situation that I had. I didn't have, my son had never been to the principal's office. Like, we didn't have those situations. He never been suspended, never been any of that, because he was a respectful, you called Chris out, he wasn't gonna cuss the teacher out. He wasn't gonna roll the eyes, because he know who his mama is. He knows when he gets home, I'm not the one of the two. And I expect something out of you. I expect you to leave my house and be respectful, but you're still a child. Kids gonna be kids. And that's why I started this off by saying why y'all hate y'all kids. Because you expect a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, an 18-year-old to behave at, you're 30 and up, and you're like, why are they not acting like this? Kids gonna make mistakes. Kids are gonna try, like you try things as adults. The law is no speeding. Y'all out here speeding? Like, that's what I'm saying. And so you want kids, you hold kids to this standard that they'll never be able to meet, and you don't allow them to be children, and you don't allow them to make mistakes and explore why they make mistakes. And that's why I say, when my son is tapping, I'm like, yo, why you tapping in her class? And now he has to tell me what he was thinking, what he was doing. And if it was just like, Mama, I forgot, because I forgot. I wasn't paying attention. I was, okay, you're going to pay attention when you lose his birthday party. I bet you won't tap me another day. I bet that'll be the last tap you tapped outside when you're not on that drum pad or on that drum. Right? And so, but you have to allow children to express themselves, to explain themselves, and not to just rock with the teacher who feels like, I need you mom of this little boy, to have my back. I want y'all to process that.
I don't even know you.
I want you of a little boy. You got a 7-year-old here, 8-year-old tapping on. I want you to have my back. In what?
But I don't even know you.
Y'all sound crazy. Anyway, Lisa, I don't talk for 18 minutes and 42 seconds. Go ahead, girl, honey.
Y'all know my sister can talk, but she is speaking facts. She's speaking facts, sis. And this is why we doing the Unplugged, because y'all have my sister riled up.
But I wasn't riled up.
Not even like that, but stuff needed, I guess, apparently needed to be addressed.
Right.
And you addressed it very well.
No,
I feel you. Like, I'm on your side. I feel you. Because honestly, when it comes to these teachers, one, you don't know them, right? They only spend about 10 months with them, but you don't know them,
right?
And I'm gonna need everybody up in the comments to stop. Just because you're an educator, don't mean that you're not mentally right. But there are a lot of educators out here that have issues.
And with no shade to the teachers,
no shade.
Best friend of teacher.
Yes, like
teacher of the year type teacher.
But please don't sit up here and act like educators, they don't do wrong.
Right.
because educators do wrong.
Right.
Like
people do wrong. Like it's human nature.
Yes, they're human.
Right.
They're human, right? So yeah, they might have went to school. They might know how to teach first grade, second grade, high school. They may know how to teach, but do they know conflict resolution when it has to do with them?
Right. No,
not with other kids, but even when it has to do with them.
Right.
So that's where I'm coming from. Like, respect all educators, respect all teachers, respect is what we respect. Okay, so that's never an issue, but I feel like some educators do need to be checked. Right. You know, I've been in situations where educators need to be checked, right?
And I'm gonna say this. I don't even be on no check-in type stuff. I make inquiries, so I'm not.
That's what it boils down to.
So it's not even me like going off. I'm like,
I'm not checking like that either.
Like I just described. When they say, oh, well, Chris was doing something, I'm like, okay, well, did you change his seat? I'm asking the questions, and you feel attacked because you didn't do what was necessary. You know why? Because you saw a little black boy and you didn't care what happened with him.
This is what I mean by check. So my 11-year-old,
who is great,
who is wonderful, a great kid, right? He got into a situation where a parent had to call my phone. So where we live, it's diverse, right? So there's mixed. He has white friends, black friends, Mexican friends, whatever. It's not just a one culture. The mom called my phone and she was like, Dede was involved in some bullying. We don't condone bullying in our household at all. Not, and it really couldn't have been my son. So I definitely want to hear about this. Yes. So apparently they were in this bathroom and there was a couple of kids, including Dede, and they were talking about the little boy's shoes. We're asking them what the shoes was because they were unfamiliar with that shoe. So they were laughing a little bit. And so when she called me, I immediately addressed it. I'm like, okay, we don't do bullying in this house for sure. 3 weeks later, and I told my son to go back and apologize to the kid, you know, whatever. You need to be a leader. If you're around those people, then you need to make sure that you stay away, or you need to check them and let them know, whatever. That's not the thing to do. 3 weeks later, the educator, the teacher, calls me. And she runs the same story back to me. And I'm listening, and she's like, "Hi, Miss Wright. I'm calling because I have Dede in my room right now, and we talk, and he hears me while I'm on the phone with you. And Daquan and several other kids were involved in what we call bullying, and we don't allow that at our school." And so, you know, she goes to explain what happened, which I already knew. So I'm just listening. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, well, what did you do with the other kids? Because it resulted in her telling me that Daquan was going to be suspended for bullying. So I'm like, hold on. I don't approve of that. But what repercussions are? What did you do with the other kids other than Daquan? Because the story that I heard from Daquan was totally different. He wasn't the leader. He was just laughing, like he was behind the scene. And she was like, well, yeah, we talked to the other parents, we talked to the kids, and I guess they just said that Daquan was the one, so we're just going to suspend him. I was like, well, do you know how long this happened? Oh, well, this happened 3 weeks ago. And do you not know that Daquan called the parent apologized to the parent and that we talked to the parent? Apologized to the kid and we talked to the parent? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. We're just getting this information and get startled. Couldn't even finish her sentences. That's check to me. Right. Like, you're about to suspend my son. You didn't do the proper research. That's right. You just out here doing what you want. No. So sometimes you have to stand up for your kids. Sometimes you have to check the educator because they are not always right. I laugh at this one scenario. I really do. So after that, it was a lesson learned for the household, right? Because Daquan was there and she said that she had spoke with him, but apparently Daquan didn't speak up either. And that, I was disappointed behind that. So when they got home and the boys got home, he didn't speak up
and say like he didn't do it?
Yes, okay. He just let it be what it is, you know. And so I'm like, don't ever do that. You know, as a black male growing up, I don't ever want you to not have somebody take advantage of you. I want you to be able to speak up for yourself respectfully. So if you feel like you wasn't the ringleader or you felt like you didn't do it, then you speak up and you say that you didn't do it. Right. And this is how it went. Correct them. It's fine to do that. So it was black power in the house at that point. Like, y'all stand up for yourself. Don't let nobody tell you did something you didn't do it. Okay, like I was going in that day. So moving along to my youngest baby, who was 8. So I had a parent teacher conference with this teacher, and I'm not gonna lie. He came to me and he was telling me that his teacher was annoying, and she just complains about little things, and she's always getting on him. But in that moment, I was just like teaching him conflict resolution. I'm like, everybody has a teacher that they've grown up with that they have not liked. So we're not gonna just be beating up every teacher because you don't like her. Just let her be a teacher. You don't have that much longer. You're gonna move on to the next grade. Just, I'm just trying to talk him down. Like, we're not. It's whatever.
And all that. Right?
Yeah, whatever. So I get to the parent-teacher conference, and the teacher tells me that she's been having issues with Jalil. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, Jalil's been telling me he's been having issues with her.
Right.
So, okay, let me hear what she's going to say. And she was like, Jalil has a problem when I tell him to stop talking, because my son is a social butterfly too. Like, he likes to talk. He's like a Chris. He has friends. He likes to talk. He's not a bad kid. He just likes to talk. So, and so she kept saying, he talks a lot in class, so he's a little disruptive in class. And I keep telling him to be quiet, but he challenges me. So he asks me why when there's everybody else talking in the classroom. And so when she told me that, I sat back and I'm like, he got that from me. I specifically told him, if you feel, if you feel like somebody is telling you to do something that you're not doing, then you need to speak up. You need to speak up for yourself. So of course, when I get home, I'm like, okay, I'll address that issue. Like I said, I'll correct the situation in a moment. I'm not going to embarrass my child. I'll acknowledge it, but we'll talk about it when we get home. But just like you, I want to know, how long has this been going on?
Yep.
Why did you wait to a parent-teacher conference to tell me this? Why we could have nipped this in the bud the first day, and that's how I am, on site.
That's it.
If you're experiencing an issue with a child, don't wait until you get ready to blow up and start hollering and screaming to report it. No, nip it in the bud right then and there, and that's the issues that some educators be having. Don't sit down on it. So anyway, so we get home, and I sit down and I talk to him. I'm like, Jalil, what happened? What's going on? Why you're not listening? He was like, Mom, but you told me if you told me if I feel like the teacher's wrong, then to correct them. And she would continue to tell me to stop talking when the whole class was talking. So I'm trying to figure out why she's telling me to stop talking when the whole class is. So that's what his argument was every time. And so I was a proud mom. Because my son actually was listening and taking heed to what I said. I was a proud mom. And I'm tickled. I'm tickled behind it. But I definitely addressed them in that moment. And apparently in those situations, son, it's repetitive. So if you feel like it's an ongoing situation, then let your mommy know, and I'll deal with it. So it kind of goes like that. But again, teachers, just still needs to be. And I use the word checked, and maybe it's not checked, but they need to be questioned too, because they're not always. You
have to hold the teacher accountable, right?
Teacher accountable.
Or people, and I don't want this to be like, oh my God, we're beating up teachers podcast. Like, that's not who we are. Like, we send our children to school. Like, Chris is still in college, and that's the thing. Chris
great kids.
Whole time in college. Whole time.
Great kids.
I remember that third grade teacher was like, oh, if you don't let him be responsible now, he's never gonna grow up. The second grade. He's 7. That y'all want, you look at my 7-year-old boy and you want him to behave like an adult is a problem for me, right? And that you're saying, oh, he's never gonna know. And so now he's in college and he's meeting with his professors and his advisors on his own and doing his own thing. Because I had to model that behavior for him. I had to model what it looked like, and I didn't have to do that with MJ and KD. Like, they just got it. They just do whatever. One older, one younger. I never had to do that. But I parent the child, right? So I don't have like one parenting style. My parenting is for each individual person. I don't hold them to each person has their own standard to which they are held.
Absolutely.
And it's all about making sure your children in the home are good people.
Yes.
And my heart goes out to teachers who are getting cut out, because I will tell you, my best
there are
friend,
some bad kids out here now. We're not saying that at all,
right? My best friend, when I told her about the clip, I was like, yo, they on my head. She was so pissed. She was pissed at me. She was like, so you think you don't stand with the teacher? And because she's a teacher, she's an educator. And I was like, yo, that's obviously not what I'm saying. And so she was just like, well, I was like, we talking about Chris one. I'm talking about my experience, not anybody else's. And she was like, well, yeah, you got to tell them who your son is. Like, because everybody knows my son is amazing. And she was like, but Crystal, because she teaches in the inner city, she was like, or not in the inner city, but like in an area, but in a rough area. And so she's like, parents come up there and fight teachers all day. And so I'm like, well, that's not my story. Like, I can only speak from my perspective.
Sorry, guys.
And so it is unfortunate if you were in a situation to where you were trying to do your job and you're trying to educate America's youth and you're being threatened, right?
We apologize.
But that's not the experience you're having with my son.
Yeah.
Right? So when I am only talking about my child, so my child is not doing things that where I feel like I gotta come up there and cuss you out. Or even cuss you out. I don't. And like I said, even the tapping on the desk, I'm on his head like, we 30 minutes in, we're gonna be all right. But I'm on his head tapping on the desk like, yo, you lost your party because you're being disrespectful. For me, the main issue that I have is teachers feeling like we have to be a united front in front of the child. Like, and I guess for all intents and purposes, like, you could say I have your back, even though, like I said, I am not consciously trying to have the teacher's back. I am consciously trying to make sure that my child is a good person. And so teacher, principal, students, I don't want you interrupting somebody else's ability to learn, right? Like most kids, a lot of kids go to school to learn, to get the information. So I don't want you to be the clown tapping on your desk because I'm just a drummer. No, you better get it under control. Like because guess what? You can drum all night when you get home. I had that type of house. There was music all night. So it wasn't like that. Like you don't have to, you have an outlet. You have the ability to be who you are when you get out of school. You have to learn that there is a manner of behavior in certain settings. But I teach you that. And I teach you that through discipline, but it doesn't have to be something that embarrasses you to teach you a lesson. And that's, if you take nothing away from this, that's what I want y'all to take. Don't hate your kids, dog. Like, people taking pride in you embarrassing where they embarrass you at. I'm not embarrassed by my son, I'm gonna tell you that. And maybe it's the child that I've raised. I have to say that over and over. Because my kids don't do things, they never did anything that embarrassed me, disappointed me. Absolutely. Embarrassed me? No, because I let kids be kids, and I understand that some things you just don't know, even if I've told you, because see, experience is the best teacher. And so I can tell you all day, like, don't touch the oven, it's hot. Don't touch the oven, it's hot. Don't touch the oven, it's hot. And then you want to go touch the oven, and bet you won't touch that thing again when you get burned. Right? And so but I understand, I'm not going to beat you because, oh my God, I told you not to do that and you did it. Because that's blind submission to authority. Go ahead and test your boundaries. But I've created a space where those boundaries that you're going to test are not like overwhelming and not over the edge. And that's the thing. And looking at the comments, everyone and it was burdensome to me, honestly, because everybody defaulted to, you're raising a mass murderer. What are y'all doing in y'all's home that a child that you have to choose a teacher over your child, and that's what you think will happen? I don't have that. Extreme. People were extreme, and I'm just like, well, I am thankful for the children that God gave me because I did not have those experiences. So it never occurred to me that, oh my gosh, if I do this to Chris, he's never going to be a respectful person. If you meet my child, it's so funny because people comment on how well behaved and well mannered my children are from little kids. It was from little children. They were well behaved. Now Chris is I'm gonna have to give him straight. He's great, but I'm gonna tell him about his homework because he school ain't his thing. Like it's just not. But he's in college and he gonna finish it out. But you have to respect people, and I want y'all to love y'all's kids, and I want you to care about how they feel, and to say, I got embarrassed. You sound crazy to me. You're a freaking adult, and you being like, I'm gonna embarrass him where he embarrassed me. Because check yourself if you got embarrassed because a teacher had to tell you that your child was misbehaving. What about that is embarrassing, that a child 18 and under, because these are the teachers that are calling you, did something and now you are embarrassed? But I don't live your life, so I don't know what that would look like. There is nothing my children can do to embarrass me. Disappoint, yes. Agreed. Right? But I don't tit for tat my child, right? Like, I'm not gonna be like, well, you embarrass me, I'm gonna embarrass you. Okay, so y'all are both children. Like that's what y'all are both on. Unplugged. Lisa's husband is color. Unplugged. But no, like, and I just love your kids and get to the bottom of things, right? Like,
it doesn't have to be in front of a teacher.
It doesn't have to be in front of anybody. You know, I don't embarrass my kids.
Anybody, honestly.
In front of their friends. And if and sometimes you do it inadvertently. Chris had his little girlfriend over the other day, and I said
Mama instincts kicked in a little bit.
Yeah, I said something, and then he told me later that he was embarrassed, and so I was like, yo, you know, I'm never trying to embarrass you, because I'm not, like, that's not who I am. I don't get my rocks off on doing things like that to my children. And so, but I feel like I said, some of the comments made me hurt for children, and there were some adults in the comments saying, like, you know, my mom did this to me and I don't talk to her anymore and I feel this way and I whatever. You are dealing with lives, and you were entrusted with these kids who don't know, they only know what you teach them. So if you don't teach them love, if you don't teach them loyalty, if you don't teach them patience, if you don't teach them God, they're going to be out here being weird. If you are beating on them every day and not giving them space to be who they are, then they're going to try to be who they are at the school. They're going to be showing out at the school or at the church or at the wherever you are, because you haven't given them an outlet at home. And that's why, like I said, that's why Chris lost his birthday party, because you ain't got to do that in here, dog. You can come to the house and drum all day. You actually take lessons, right? Like, this is you're a part. You and your brother and sister have a band. You can drum all day and all night. You ain't got to drum in this woman's class. And so, because I've given you that outlet. And so I just love your kids, dog. Like, step back and ask yourself why your child's behavior is embarrassing to you, and why you feel the need to embarrass back, like you're a child, an actual child. And why is that teaching a lesson? Like, why can't you choose a healthy method to teach your lesson? Not something like you're like, I'm going to leave. What I want to do is scar you, and you're going to have this scar, and you're going to remember this because of this scar. Right? And so I ain't no big, people like the gentle parenting crew are like, oh my God, great gentle parenting. I ain't no gentle parent, because I'm gonna yell at you, right? Because I'm a screamer.
Keep it real, all that.
So I'm gonna fuss. I'm gonna unplug. But I'm gonna fuss. I'm gonna do all of that. So I don't have no look. I ain't mad at gentle parents. Please, gentle parent. But that's not who I am, and that's not. So I don't want to pretend that I was just, whatever. I was going off. Like, I was going up. I wasn't, look, I cussed
in the comfort of your own home.
Yep, I cuss my kids now, my grown kids now. But when they was little, I didn't cuss them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't do any of those things, because I
cussed my kids out if I needed to.
Little kids?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't do it. Well, let me tell you this.
What age you are, if you're doing something wrong.
I started cussing them when Chris was 16.
But they weren't bad like that, so I can't really say that.
But why you not doing it?
Parents have their days.
I done told you 6 times. Now I'm about to cut you out.
That part.
Look, and I remember, so I did not cuss him. MJ left, went to LA, came back, and was like, what happened to mom? He actually said that. He was like, yo, what happened to mom? Because I was really cussing, because Chris is on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? So I was cussing her brother out. And so, but at the house. You know what I'm saying? And so
there's phases too, though.
Yeah. And so Chris and I was talking about that the other day, and I was just like, because it's funny, my children love how they were raised. And they all just were like, I'm going to do exactly that we did this. I'm going to do exactly that we did that. But they weren't, it would be Chris, playing his music too loud, not practicing, but wanting to be good at something. Like, ooh, they used to drive me crazy. Like, you like, I don't know why I'm not doing well. I ain't seen you practice at all, ever. Okay. What are you talking about? Like, you sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? Or, I don't know. So, whatever the case is, like, that's just love your kids, dog. Like,
that's it.
And that's what I felt about this was, not only do parents not love their kids, but teachers don't want kids to feel loved. And before you get into, well, how do you equate wanting to hold them accountable with love? Why do you feel like there's this whole public accountability thing? Like, but why does it have to be a public accountability thing? Ask yourself what that does. And so it's like, oh, well, they're going to learn. I think if you train them to learn, like, in a gentle method or a different method, they can't. It's like beating kids. And kids don't be responding to that, because and that's what somebody said. Well, she said she was having this problem repeatedly, so obviously it didn't work. Okay, so no, you have to teach children. It's not generally the one time. That's why kids when they were used corporal punishment, they used it repeatedly. It wasn't just a one-time thing. And then I'm gonna say this last thing. I've talked this whole thing. We're gonna cut this off and let Lisa talk. This is our life. This is our life every day.
Listen, this is Unplugged, and my sister definitely, I love you more. Wanted to get this out, guys.
No,
because it was definitely her clip. My clip was short, small, whatever. I got a little backlash, same thing. But yeah, y'all was definitely on some reckless. And
people were saying stuff like, this is kind of like a slave mentality, in favor of my position. But at the more, because at first I was like, oh, y'all bugging, y'all taking this thing too far. But I said no, because what is humiliation? Like, why do you feel the need? Like, where did you learn that humiliation is a corrector? Where did you learn that? Like, where does that come from? And so it was just very sobering for me to kind of see, because like thousands of people commented. I'm not looking at a small, I guess a small pool in relation to the world and people on social media, but thousands of people were commenting, and of the comments, and I will say a lot of people put on their stories like, oh my God, I like this is great, this is great.
Well, yeah, some good feedback.
But of the comments, they were overwhelmingly negative. Or let me say this, I don't want to say negative, I want to say against my position.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, everybody, I want you to have your position. I want you to be able to think it through. And y'all were thinking it through, and you have your own positions. But I am burdened that you want to humiliate your kid, and you feel like your kid is on a level with you where you're like, I'm going to get you back. Because embarrassing him where he embarrassed you is getting that kid back. Or correcting him in front of a crowd, or even if or another person, when it'll have the same effect at home.
That part.
And it's like, and there, I just don't know where the self-reflection is. But like for me, when my kids were really young and I was living a really crazy life, I wasn't the greatest mom. And then when I got myself together, I reflected on everything I did wrong, and I was like, yo, I'm about to kill this mom thing. And I did. Like, I'm on 1,000, 100,000, like, and my kids are awesome, and my daughter wants to be just like me. My sons want to marry women like me, and I don't know gross stuff because that's weird. But like on some, like, I want a woman dedicated to her children and her husband and her family and her career and God the way that you are, And so that was the example I gave them. So maybe that's why my kids weren't at school cussing teachers out and having sex in the bathroom and smoking and They
doing embarrassing things.
They did not come. And here's the thing, but Lise, honestly, I'm being very honest. I don't know that I would have been embarrassed by those things, more so like disappointed and like what's going on.
Yeah, I was, when I saw embarrassment, I was literally trying to figure out what would be embarrassment.
Because we talking about kids. So now I'm trying to figure out, like, what are you on? What are you lacking that you are behaving in this manner? Because a lot of time it's attention, sometimes it's love, but you don't want to look at that. You don't want to look at what caused my son to do this, because if you're trying to be the class clown, that is an attention-seeking behavior. So how do we remedy that? And you can say all day, well, I was a good mom and my child was still... I think it all goes back. That's my position. My position, people say like, oh, good parents. Absent like, and this is my position. I am not a doctor. I don't have no statistic. I just want y'all to know this. Absent like people with mental health issues or who, whatever. And that's a thing.
It's definitely a thing.
I think it all goes back to parenting. Or lack of parenting. Or, I worked so hard, so I wasn't there for you, but I gave you everything. And so there are things that are missing. So there has to be the healthy balance, and then there has to be like God, and everything will go back to God on That's Right, your favorite Christian podcast. But like even Unplugged, I just feel like you have to be a good parent, and you can't be a good parent unless you want to be a good parent. You cannot be a good parent not wanting kids. You guys want adults in little kids' bodies. You have got to want children to be a good parent, and you've got to understand that children
want to be children.
They do kid stuff. They gonna do kid stuff, and so you've got to know how to exist in that space and teach them how to grow into adults who are productive citizens, God-fearing citizens, people who want to give back to the world and create more people like them. So anyway, love your kids. That's what it boils down to. Y'all know we love our kids
to death. Okay. And we walking with our kids.
Lisa says that she says like it's about respect, and people don't think kids deserve respect.
Yep.
They don't think they deserve respect as humans, right? And so, like, I don't think kids deserve control. That's where I draw the line. But I think they deserve respect, and I'm going to respect you enough to give you an explanation as to why, you know, I'm doing this punishment. I'm going to respect you enough to not embarrass you, because here's the thing, what about correction is embarrassing? Let me tell you something. Adults get embarrassed by correction, period. Adults. And here's the thing. While I may need to correct a behavior, I want to hear what my son did it first.
Absolutely.
But if I jump down his throat in front of a teacher, you know better than that. You know better than talking in. Even if it's something stern like that, right? Even if it's now Chris, you know better, and now Chris doesn't want to tell me because my mom automatically jumped on my teacher's side.
That's when children start lashing out.
Yes, but she jumped on my teacher's side. Now I might as well not say nothing. But that's, think about relationships. Think about as an adult, right? Your romantic relationship, somebody is like, well, you know, why did you say this to so and so? And you're like, I never said that. And why did you go there? Like, we are together. Why did you automatically side with this person? Absolutely. But you don't think a kid needs that same level of respect and level of consideration because they're just a kid, and that's y'all don't want kids for real. Y'all don't want kids for real. And so, and that's the thing. And I love the parents who like, and then the whole he don't have a daddy. Whole time my son got a daddy, right? Like he doesn't. She must not be married. She's everything
just misconstrued.
It was just mad weird, and like, so
stop, y'all.
And like I say, my husband, like he'll say in on my podcast, he's a guest, and he talks about, like, you know, he was not raised in a family. Coming soon. He was not raised in a family where he got to express himself, and so obviously you were raised in that same household. And so he's like, he was shocked when I came and I allowed my kids to think, and but he was also like, one of the first things he said to me about my kids was that your kids are so polite. Like, he was shocked about, and they were like 14, 11, and 10 when they met, and he was blown away about how well behaved they were. How he was like, so they are so appreciative of everything, because they are. And if you were ever around them, they're gonna make you feel like you were the most important person ever, and they're gonna hype you up, and they, you know what I mean? Like, they just get so excited, like they. And that's why, like I said, Chris gonna tap on the table, but ain't nobody gonna send him to the principal's office because he's Chris. And then when he went to the high school that he hated, a teacher told him, because he came from a very mixed, diverse, kind of like middle class school, and he went to a different school that was not diverse and was like lower class or whatever, but he was trying to do something, and there was a story about it. But the teacher was like, you were changing the culture of this school. My one child, they had like 3,000 kids, and my one child, Chris, who also was gonna talk in class, was changing the culture of the school, but it's based on how he was raised, because I gave him a chance, even after tapping on pencils, to be who Chris was gonna be, you know? And so instead of shutting your kids down every time they make a mistake, like, let them be a kid.
Listen to them, hear them out.
Explore what being a kid looks like, right? And just want to be a parent. Ask yourself, do you want a parent or do you want a friend? Last thing, because somebody else said, oh, she's trying to be his friend. Let me tell you something. My kids know I'm not their friends. Chris sent me something the other day. He told me it was an accident. Completely inappropriate reel that he thought was funny. I said, yo, you must have sent this to the wrong person. I'll tell y'all in a minute. Now my kids are adults. I ain't playing. No, I'm still your mama. We don't even joke like that, right? And so, but to the person who, and that's what's weird to me, to the person who wants to embarrass their kid in front of somebody, like, you think that's funny? Are you you think you're their peer? Right. So I am mother enough and adult enough to be able to have a conversation with my child the way that a child can understand without trying to be, I don't care if they like me. The thing is, they love me and they did like me, but I didn't care. I didn't. And I used to tell my kids I want their friends so much, and I wanted them to know that thing that when I used to call Kennedy girlfriend sometimes, she told me this when she got older. She said, I hated that because she used to always say I wasn't your friend. And so when you would be doing my hair and say, oh, girlfriend, because she would tell me that. She would say, don't call me girlfriend. And I didn't understand why she would say that. And so she told me as an adult, she was like, we weren't friends. You always say we weren't friends. But I never tried to be my kid's friend, but I tried to make sure that, or they're equal. I wanted them to feel respected and very human and very heard. And so, are y'all hearing y'all's kids? Are you just trying to let this teacher who's gonna go off for summer break and forget your child's name? And I know that there are some teachers who love their kids for 20 years. Please don't be anything. But you want this person to have loyalty to this person and let your child know, I don't care what somebody say about you, I'm going to side with them before you, without ever having a chance to hear what you have to say. Because that's what happens when you discipline in that moment. You haven't had a chance to talk to your child to find out what they have to say. You're just like, the teacher said you did this, so you did it. And I know sometimes we know our kids. Like I knew Chris was tapping on that table because I know my son, and I knew he took them pencils out.
Well, I knew and my son was talking back.
Yeah, like I don't think. Let me say this: I don't think that Chris calculated it at 8 as being disrespectful. Yeah, I don't think he was maliciously like trying to do it. But I have to teach you that this is what it looks like to people. If she's asked you, she is the authority figure here. If she has asked you not to do it, you have to respect her authority.
Period.
You know, and so, and it's not like respect your authority and it's something that's dangerous to you. This is a matter of, and here's why, because it is disruptive to everyone else. Maybe if it was the two of you, she would let you learn and tap a pencil, but she can't because little Johnny sitting next to you is not going to be able to process as you're tapping. And so you have to look at the environment around you and be able to respect that entire environment. But y'all ain't teaching y'all kids that. Y'all just like, do what they say because they said so. And you sound weird. Anyway, we wrapping up. We 20 minutes over. We love y'all. Thank y'all for looking at That's Right Unplugged. We might have another one of these for y'all. No, we will. We're going to be in these same clothes because we're recording several.
We unplugged. We chilling tonight.
We love y'all, and we love educators. If there is an educator who needs some supplies for their classroom, I'm dead serious because you know I'm about to give away.
Yeah, it's for real.
Send me your Cash App. Get in the DMs. Send me your Cash App. I'm gonna probably choose 3 educators to send some. I'm serious. She laughing, but I'm dead serious.
No, she's serious.
Yeah,
that's why I'm laughing.
Y'all know we get to give away at the beginning of the year. So if there are any educators who need supplies from their class for their classrooms, DM us and we'll send y'all some money to get these supplies. We love y'all.
Love y'all.
See you later.
Peace.